So our talk today is Swimming in a Sea of Abundance. And this is our annual Friendship Month, what I want to be our annual Friendship Month. That's just our first time we've done it, but I think we've done pretty well. We've made some new friends, and it's just been lovely. We've had a good time. Last week was really wonderful, wasn't it? Didn't we have just an amazing performance by Rod, and it was just such a wonderful time. And this has really given us an opportunity as the Center for Spiritual Living here in Modesto to share the love that we all feel here within the walls, to share the light of our individual hearts illuminating and radiating out into the world, which I think is so much even more important now with all of the events that are going on, and sharing the wealth of understanding of life from a deep spiritual perspective, because that's what we're taking the time to do, to really go deep. And that wealth of understanding is taking a specific form this month, and here in April, and that's the form of looking at the idea of living an abundant life from a deeply spiritual perspective. To set the tone for swimming in the Sea of Abundance, which is our focus today, our basic Science of Mind lesson is this, and it really does relate. We have a foundations class, which I have not taught yet, but it is a class that is offered, and I will be teaching it. It's a 10-week course. And they talk about, and we actually are going over the 10 core concepts in our Essential Ernest Holmes course. And it talks about all of these 10 core concepts. But concept number 6 says this, that we live in a universe of infinite abundance. And even though sometimes it doesn't seem like that at times, it is the spiritual truth. The entire universe is teeming with abundance, and it's our divine right to receive it. We are heirs to the kingdom simply because of who we are. We don't have to become anything or do anything more other than accept what is truly already given. Doesn't mean we don't have to, move our feet there and find what our passion is. That's a whole nother story. But we do deserve whatever wealth is already given just by being born, just by being here. In The Creative-Minded Success, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, writes, "Everything is built on a boundless basis, drawn from a limitless source, comes forth from an infinite sea of unmanifest life. Life is always limitless, and we should draw more and more from that limitless source." So now back to our fundamental belief in Science of Mind that we live in an infinitely abundant universe. In our main textbook, which is right here, called The Science of Mind, Holmes writes, God is spirit. Spirit is substance, and substance is supply. This is the keynote to a realization of the more abundant life, to the demonstration of success in financial matters, and I will add, in all matters of human experience. It is right that we should be successful, for otherwise the Spirit is not expressed. God expresses in, as, and through us. We're here, as Dr. Reverend Pat Campbell, Reverend Doctor, says, we're here to give God a good time, okay? And this is where the story, The Lazy River, came from this morning. We're here to give God a good time. So she's just very prophetic in her humor and wonderful. So the divine cannot lack for anything, and we should not lack for anything that makes life worthwhile here on earth. And that's what we're beginning this morning, and we're beginning with that foundation. Even though this is a spiritual truth, we can often be like the fish in the ocean. The fish looks around and says, "Where's the water?" Right? He's swimming in it, right? But he can't see it. So we're swimming in an ocean of abundant good, but sometimes we just can't see it. We are blinded to it. And what blinds us, well, listen to this. This is a quote. "The whole world is undergoing a change of such stupendous proportions that millions of people have become panic-stricken with worry and doubt and indecision and fear. It seems to me that now is a splendid time for those who have come to the crossroads of doubt to endeavor to become acquainted with their other selves, higher selves. All who wish to do will find it helpful if they take a lesson from nature. Observation will show that the eternal stars shine nightly in their accustomed places, that the sun continues to send down its rays of warmth, causing Mother Nature to yield an overabundance of food and clothing, that water continues to flow downhill, that the birds of the air and the wild animals of the forest receive their accustomed requirements of food, that useful day follows restful night, that busy summer follows the inactive winter, that the seasons come and go precisely as they did before the 1929 Depression began, that in reality only men's minds have ceased to function normally, and this because men have filled their minds with fear. Observation of these simple facts of everyday life may be helpful as a starting point for those who wish to supplant fear by faith. I am not a prophet, but I can, with all due modesty, predict that every individual has the power to change his or her material and financial status by first changing the nature of his or her beliefs. So anyone want to take a guess at who wrote that?
Ernest?
No, it wasn't Ernest. It was Napoleon Hill. Who's heard of Napoleon Hill? Okay, Napoleon Hill, in his book, it's called Outwitting the Devil. And he wrote this toward the end of the Depression in 1938, but it was just published in 2011. So it's recently published. But it could have been written today, couldn't have, except for that, reference to the Depression, the 1929. But he could have said the 2009 recession. Right? Wasn't there the same fear, the same concerns that were going on then? He's talking about opening up our beliefs so that we can see we are living in a world of infinite abundance, that it is all around us all the time, but that we can't see it because our fears and our doubts are clouding our vision. To move out of our fears and doubts, we have to cultivate what he calls the other self, or what we might call the higher self. In this other self or higher self, we are aware that we are swimming in the sea of abundance. And we can consciously attune ourselves to it. We just have to wake up and get into the flow, as Reverend Pat Candle tells us. Victoria Castle, in her book, and this is an awesome book right here, it's called The Trance of Scarcity. And I've used this a lot. In her book, she talks about the cycle of abundance, the 6 phases of the flow. And I actually took a picture of it out of the book. Can you see that? Okay, that's not too bad. It's a little squished. It looks wider on my screen. But, all right, so think of these phases in the circle. You can see that. Aligning, attracting, receiving, gratitude, generosity, and giving. So let's start with aligning. Castle tells us, and when I say that, I should call her Victoria, because when I think of Castle, I think of the television show Castle.
It was on last night.
Wait a minute. She tells us that when we are aligning, we accept our innate belonging, opening ourselves to the flow, merging with that which is greater than ourselves, and trusting that it is operating on our behalf in marvelous, unseen ways. And it follows that we are moved to inspired action. See, when we trust, then we're not afraid to take action. In other words, we're recognizing that there's no separation between spirit and ourselves. We are one. We move with the flow, we awake to inspiration and opportunity, and just as we said last week, we are open to ideas. Remember, we talked about God's currency being ideas? The ideas that we get are the currency of God. Castle says the better part of brilliance is noticing the flow and jumping right in. Align yourself with what is already flowing towards you. Making yourself available is the key to aligning. Signs that we're aligning includes ease and pleasure and aliveness and relief. Wow, this is easy. It's easy, right, Charlou? We're in the flow. I just had to make that one call, and it happened. It's easy, and the relief is there too. Yes. We relax into spirit. And we realize that we don't have to do it all on our own. We're not alone here. Aligning doesn't keep life from being messy. It just keeps the mess from becoming a permanent stain. I kind of think of this as our spiritual spray and wash, okay? Or maybe shout, right? So when we're in alignment, it doesn't make the mess stay. It gets us out of that mess easier and quicker. So then we focus on attracting. Think of something about which you are absolutely certain, such as your home address, the color of your car or your bicycle, or something that you own, that you just know right now where it is, and you know the color of it, and you know what it is. Notice how it feels to be absolutely certain. There's no doubt. I mean, I'm not going to tell Polly that her van is purple because she knows without a doubt that it's white, right? Okay. This is the energy of attracting. There's no anxiety. There's no worry or doubt. There's just plain confidence. You know. You know where your bike is. You know where your car is. You know what you have and you know where it is and the color of it and the status of it. It's like you're aware of that. You're self-assured and you're at ease. That attitude signals to your heart's desire that it's safe to land right here in your life. Castle says that the more wholehearted and peaceful we are about what we want, the more irresistible we are to it. So when we can think of something we already have and have that same feeling about something we really want, the confidence of knowing that, wow, like I am accepting a new car at some point in my life. I haven't decided exactly when, but I'm formulating it in my mind and I'm getting that confident, at ease feeling. What the car feels like, what it looks like, how it feels. I'm sure you went through this too when you just bought your new Nissan Leaf. I mean, wow. And it's like so awesome, isn't it? But that confidence was right there leading into it and knowing it. Here's a classic story. A farming community is facing one of the worst droughts in a decade. A few more days and the crops will be ruined. And everyone in town knows that will mean a very lean year for all of them. Someone decides that the situation calls for desperate measures and a town prayer meeting is called at the church. That evening, everyone shows up and squeezes into the sanctuary to pray for rain. Only one little girl arrives with an umbrella. Were they really expecting their prayer to be answered? I'm not thinking so. Maybe she was. But that's all it probably took, was just the one, right? Here's the amazing truth. You don't attract what you want, or even what you deserve. You attract what you expect. Rich used to have a saying on the back of his license plate, expect the best. What story are you telling yourself right now? How could you change it so that you are attracting what you wish or expect to experience? Signs of embodied attracting includes ease, pleasure, aliveness, and confidence. Third is receiving. In the cycle of abundance, receiving is the depth of the inhale. When we take that deep breath, we're receiving, aren't we? It's a big, yes, thank you, I accept. We don't have to worry that there's not going to be the air there, right? Unless we're at the bottom of a pool. But we know that when we inhale, the abundance of the air is there. And there's always plenty more where that came from. Through a strictly puritanical lens, receiving can tend to look selfish and indulgent. And the Puritans were the ones who came over and didn't believe they deserved anything. They thought all of the rewards were going to be when they got to heaven. Well, what a waste. Because so much has already been given to us here. Why wait? Let's enjoy now, right? So really it may look that way, and it can be difficult for many of us. But it's just part of the cycle. We're great at giving, aren't we? But we're not all that great at receiving. What do you do when someone gives you a gift, offers to buy your lunch, or how about compliments you on what you're wearing? Something that you've done. What do you do? What's the correct response to all of these situations? What do we say?
Thank you.
Right, but what do we often say? Oh, no, this whole thing? Or no, I couldn't possibly. Well, let me get the tip then. No. Practice receiving. Someone wants to give you something, say thank you. Thank you. Okay, we all want to do good in the world, and if we're to be one of the real services to humanity, we have to make ourselves available to be nourished and inspired and sustained. We have to be available to that. We have to, at times, let someone else take care of us. Let ourselves become refreshed. Let ourselves have those moments on the beach, right? Yes. Receiving means being available to the fullest sense of the word, allowing the precious moments of life to touch us deeply. It has nothing to do with being worthy, but everything to do with being open. You can deepen your capacity for aliveness by practicing how you receive the good things that come to you. Take time each day to find 3 things that please you. How hard is this? 3 things that please you, and just let yourself feel and appreciate them for about 10% more, just about 10% more. I mean, I think we go through life and not noticing a lot of the wonderful things that are out there. And it could be the warm sun. I know that after the wind was blowing and it was cold, but then it got warm. It was like, oh, that felt so good. Okay, I can appreciate that 10% more. It could be a great cup of coffee. I mean, how awesome is it when you get that really good cup of coffee? How about the rose bush that just bloomed, that it has the most gorgeous fragrant roses, and you've been nurturing this rose bush all winter long and trimming it and fertilizing it. Now it's blooming. And that is just beautiful. It can be anything that's out there. I know Polly has a fabulous garden that she maintains. I know Suzanne has her roses, and Rich works hard too on his. Signs of embodied receiving include ease, pleasure, aliveness, and satisfaction. We're starting to see a pattern here, aren't we? When we're in all the flow, this is what we want to feel. And that leads us to gratitude. Gratitude focuses your attention. It affects what you see and how you move. And we know that energy follows attention. People who operate in a state of gratitude are consistently more creative and joyful, connected, resilient, and peaceful than those who operate inside the trance of scarcity, which perpetuates criticism and complaint. I know this to be a fact, as I have done personal research in both camps. Often. Johannes A. Gassner wrote, "To speak gratitude is courteous and pleasant. To enact gratitude is generous and noble. But to live gratitude is to touch heaven." Gratitude is a generative energy, the art of turning anything into a blessing. It magically expands our capacity for yes, thank you. And when we say yes to life, it is the way we increase our tolerance for bliss. Don't you love that? Who wants to increase your tolerance for bliss? I mean, have you ever said, this feels so good I can't stand it? Well, I want to feel even more of that. I want to increase my tolerance for bliss. And having a high bliss tolerance means you are willing to be pleased by life. The better it gets, the more you can stand. Signs of embodied gratitude include ease, pleasure, aliveness, and joy. And next to the last is generosity. Generosity closely follows the law of physics. Each of us is like a tub of water. Once you're full, you're definitely going to overflow when more is added, right? It would take much greater effort to try to contain it, to keep it in the tub, than to simply let it spill over and give itself to the floor. Think of all the generous people that you know. These are the people that if they have it, it's yours too. I mean, have you ever known anyone like that? It's amazing. You've gone over to their house, you've admired something, and they go, oh, take it. Oh, you really like this? Well, here, you can have it. If you like it, it's yours. It's yours too. They are the folks who are the lavish hosts, the neighbors who mow your lawn when you are busy, the colleagues who help you prepare for a presentation for which you're going to get all the credit. They're not. The busy people who stop to give directions to you when you're lost. The ones who clean out the fountain for the whole community. They give because they know they've already received. Warren Bennis tells a story about Queen Elizabeth's two great prime ministers, William Gladstone and Benjamin Disraeli. Someone once observed that when you had dinner with Gladstone, you came away thinking that he was the wittiest, most intelligent, most charming person you had ever met. But when you dined with Disraeli, he made you feel that you were the wittiest, most intelligent, most charming person ever. See the difference? Signs of embodied generosity include ease, pleasure, aliveness, and resilience. So finally, we get on to giving, the big exhale of the cycle of abundance. Giving is the delicious act of sending out what we value and releasing what burdens us. The ability to contribute, to bring value, is a source of deep fulfillment. We know that our lives matter. When you open a door for someone, offer directions to a tourist, prepare a meal for a guest, or articulate your appreciation for someone, do you feel more alive or less alive? As we study the way to embody abundance, our focus constantly returns to our capacity to allow more aliveness and more pleasure into our system. There are thousands of ways to give. What is it that calls to you? Action, kindness, wisdom, talent, money, time, connections, food, encouragement? The choice is yours, but be mindful. If you're not having a whopping good time giving, don't do it. Stop. Make sure you're having fun and you're coming from that place where it feels good to be giving. Check that you're giving from a sense of fullness, that you feel related, that you are unattached to the results of your giving. How many of you have given a gift and then said, well, what are they going to do with it? Wow, I gave them this money and oh, look how they're spending. Oh, I can't believe that they're going to buy that. No, that's not giving. That's attached giving. That's giving with conditions. I'm talking about the giving of, yeah, here it is, whatever, and not being concerned with the results. You have extraordinary gifts that you bring into the world, and the world is counting on you to bring them. Signs of embodied giving include ease and pleasure and aliveness and expansion. So, we've traveled about the cycle of abundance and explored the nature of the flow. We've learned some practices to merge with the flow every moment. We've discovered that no matter what happens, we cannot be diminished, and we are enriched and empowered to remain open in every experience. We've discovered that it isn't magic, this cycle of abundance. We just have to become aware that we're already swimming in a sea of it. In Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, he spends the first 1/3 of the book sharing about his personal experience with failure and what it took for him to move out of it. In a nutshell, it took for him to get very clear that he was already swimming in a sea of infinite possibility. He identified the other self, which we call the higher self, and this is the part of him and the part of us that does not get hung up on conditions, but knows the spiritual truth. He wrote, this other self said to him, the only limitation is the one which you set up in your own mind. He went on to write, my other self has taught me to concentrate upon my purpose and to forget about the plan by which it is to be attained when I go to prayer. I am not suggesting that material objects may be acquired without a plan. What I am saying is that the power which translates one's thoughts or desires into realities has its source in an infinite intelligence, which knows more about plans than the one doing the praying. Isn't that the truth? In Prosperity, Charles Fillmore writes, refuse to be shaken from your spiritual stand in the very midst of God's prosperity and plenty, and supply will begin to come forth from the ether, and plenty will become more and more manifest in your affairs. So I'd like to close with a meditation. And join me if you choose. Take a deep breath. And close your eyes. All what I want you to do is simply envision yourself as a little fish swimming around in the ocean of infinite abundance. And let us first imagine this ocean of abundance the way Napoleon Hill suggested we do, which is to look at nature. Think of the orchards, if you notice them, as you drive on Oakdale Road or Ladd Road or River Road or wherever you drive through the country. The orchards, the vineyards. Remember just a few weeks ago, the pink and white blossoms that covered the trees for as far as the eye could see. Who could have counted the number of blossoms? And now those have turned to fruit, small and green. Who can count the number of almonds or cherries or peaches or nectarines? Let us use that as a visual example of the plenty in which we live. What a demonstration of abundance. For those of us who drive down a particular street on a regular basis, I think of Oakdale Road as you enter into Riverbank, all of the trees and the roses and the daylilies blooming. What a beautiful visual of unlimited abundance and beauty. Or perhaps get an image of a flowering plant that you have in your yard, or perhaps your neighborhood. Maybe they're camellias or azaleas, or the beautiful pinks and white colors of other flowers that are blooming right now, even the yellows. What a beautiful demonstration of God's abundance. See yourself surrounded by these visual images. Think about the grains of sand on an ocean beach. Just one beach. Just one. Could we possibly count the grains of sand on it? And now expand out from tangible things to those intangible things, like the ocean of love that you live in, right here in this room. You don't even have to go beyond the walls of this room. Right here in this room is an infinite amount of love for each of us. It has been expressed in music, in prayers, in laughter, in words. That love surrounds us. But we could go beyond these walls and find that infinite love from other friends and family members who perhaps are not a member or a part of this community, but who we know share deep, sweet love with us. It could be family of origin, it could be family of choice, it could be both. Just see yourself now swimming in that sea. And now releasing any need to know the plan, to know the how. I want you to bring something that is on your heart, a nudging that your heart is calling you. That's the divine that's in you. Perhaps it's to change jobs, perhaps it's to heal relationships or a relationship. Perhaps it's to open up to a new relationship. Perhaps it's to have a physical healing, to have a greater flow of abundance in the form of money and of opportunities in your life. Maybe it's to launch that project. Whatever it is, there's no big or small in God, no selfish or altruistic. It's all good. So get a picture of something that your heart is nudging you to do right now and simply place it in the center of the sea of abundance that you have been swimming in. That's all. That's all you need to do right now. Just place it there and let it be. Just let it be. And join me if you want to come back. I'd like to close with a prosperity treatment. And this is the 23rd Psalm that was revised by Charles Fillmore in Prosperity, the book that he wrote. He says, "The Lord is my banker, my credit is good. He maketh me lie down in the consciousness of omnipresent abundance. He giveth me the key to his strong box. He restoreth my faith in his riches. He guideth me in the paths of prosperity for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk in the very shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy silver and thy gold, they secure me. Thou preparest a way for me in the presence of my collector. Thou fillest my wallet with plenty, my measure runneth over. Surely goodness and plenty will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall do business in the name of the Lord forever." And so it is.